most people think white wine, probably think big, buttery, golden Chardonnay from California. And California Chardonnay may be the most popular white wine in the United States, but it's only a fraction of the white wine story here in the US. And today we're going to dive a bit deeper into white wines from a couple of different regions around the US. So I've got two bottles here I'm so excited to open up, and I promise neither of them are Chardonnay. This is the American Wine Rebel Show, where we dive into the history of American wine and uncover American wine's best-kept secrets. I'm Meg Siobhan, and I hope you poured yourself a glass of something good because I don't like drinking alone. So today I've got this big salt from Ovum. This wine here is from Oregon. This is the 2024, and super excited to dig into this. I've actually not tried this one before, but it's been on my shelf for some time and I've been saving the right moment. So I think that this is it to crack into it because I know a lot of people who have tried this one and say that they love it. And then the second bottle here, this one is Augusta Vin. That is a winery in Texas, so a very different state from Oregon. And this is their Viognier, also a 2024. So same year, two very different states, different white wines. And this one here, the label did get eaten a little bit by my wine fridge, but it's still fine. The wine inside will still be good. So excited to dig into this one as well. So, talking the state of American white wine, how do we get to a point where Chardonnay is basically the it girl grape and a lot of other white wines don't get the attention that they deserve? Because there's a lot of really great white wines out there. So, like a lot of things in US winemaking, of course it goes back to Prohibition. Prior to Prohibition, there were a lot of different grapes that were being planted in the US. A lot of hybrids, a lot of European or Vitis vinifera grapes as well. And there was a lot of diversity in the grapes that were being grown for wine. Prohibition happens, kills alcohol consumption, or at least commercial legal alcohol consumption. And the wineries that did survive Prohibition survived by planting grapes for sacramental wine for churches or for port for medicinal purposes. But the purpose of the wine that they were planting, whether they were making it for juice or sacramental wine, was not for high quality, complex wines. They were just producing bulk product to survive. And so they started ripping up a lot of the vines that were present that had different types of grapes, both red and white, and replanting them with bulk grapes that were easy to grow and would survive. A lot of these grapes would be thrown into big trucks and taken across the United States. And so they had to be grapes that wouldn't crush each other, that wouldn't get funky or nasty before they arrived at their final destination. So the growers weren't planting grapes that were going to be great wine grapes. And so then Prohibition ended. And at that point, America was basically starting at a clean slate of winemaking. And there were a lot of different schools of thought, but some winemakers in the US felt like they had to keep up with Europe and they had to emulate Europe. And so some of the popular grapes in Europe were being grown in the United States. And so let's start with Oregon history. So Oregon, there weren't a lot of grapes being grown in Oregon. And in fact, at the main colleges and centers of knowledge of US grape growing and winemaking in California, a lot of those guys said that grapes couldn't be grown in Oregon. But there were a few pioneers. One of the most famous ones was a gentleman by the name of David Lett. He founded Erie Vineyards in Oregon, decided that they were going to go up to Oregon and plant grapes and prove that you could make quality wine in Oregon. So him and a number of other people go up there. They start planting Pinot Noir. That gets really big. And Oregon is known for Pinot Noir, and it's still known for Pinot Noir, but there's so many great white grapes that can grow in Oregon as well. And after the Pinot Noir became popular, some of the people up there who were growing grapes started to think, well, if Pinot Noir grows well here, what else can we plant? And so in the Burgundy region of France, a lot of Pinot Noir is grown, a lot of Chardonnay is grown as well. So Chardonnay is grown there. Pinot Blanc, which is a mutation of Pinot Noir, is quite popular in Europe. But one of the things that I love about American wine most is innovative winemakers who don't get so stuck in what's supposed to happen or try to mimic Europe in grape growing and start to embrace the unique terroir and the unique weather and the soil and the climate and the people in the regions they're in the US, and plant things that are a little bit different. And so that is what Ovum is doing here. So there's some grapes in here that are a little bit unique for Oregon. So this right here is a blend. This has Riesling in it, Gewürztraminer, both of which are grapes that are found in the Alsace region of France as well as Germany. This has some Pinot Blanc in it. It's got some Muscat. It has some other grapes as well. And so this is really a blend of cool climate grapes. These are all grapes that grow in northern France, in Germany. They thrive in a cooler climate like Oregon. They don't do well in the heat. And so I'm excited to taste this wine. Before I even taste this, I'm getting a lot of lemon, lime, apricot, peach. It's really nice. It's got a lot of the same notes as Riesling, at least to me on the nose. So this has a lot of nice acidity to it. Like I said, the citrus fruits, definitely peach. Almost a little bit of a like peach pit note to it. A little bit of that bitterness, not in a bad way, but it's definitely not sweet. But it is florally as well, which makes sense. Both Riesling and Gewürztraminer are very floral grapes, and this definitely has some salinity to it, which fits right with the name Big Salt. So salinity being like a salty taste to it. And salinity is one of those really funny descriptors in wine. So we're going to sidebar on this for a little bit. So salinity is one of those descriptors that basically the best way I can think to describe it is you are tasting the ocean breeze in a glass of wine, or alternatively, you're tasting that taste if you ever do oysters, raw oysters. There's a little bit of salinity in there because there's seawater that gets inside of the oysters. So as you throw back the oyster, you get a little bit of that salinity, salty, kind of like you're drinking the ocean a little bit. And this is something that people get really passionate about in the wine world as to whether this is actually a thing. So salinity is a common descriptor for a lot of wines that are grown in coastal regions or regions that are by the ocean. And one school of thought is that when you grow grapes in either really minerally soil where there is a lot of salt in the soil or by the ocean, that the vines itself can actually absorb some of that salinity through the roots because of the composition of the soil. And there's just something about being in this climate that gives the grapes a little bit of a saline taste to them. Another school of thought says that's crazy. Grapes can't absorb salt through their roots. The grapes themselves have no actual salt in them. You can measure it. There's no salt. That is a lie. It's crazy. People make it up. They just like to throw the word around, and it really means nothing. So for me, I definitely think with certain wines, I can taste the salinity. This is one that I taste salinity. I don't know that it's actually salty though, but I think there's something about certain high acid wines, especially blended together, can almost give the perception of saltiness. And this wine is one of those. So for me, tasting notes are more about what you think you taste rather than what is actually chemically inside of the glass, because a lot of what we think we can taste is not actually there. There are no peaches in this. There's no lemons in this. These are just flavors that we get from the growing conditions, from the grapes, from the combination of everything that happened, winemaking techniques, all of that. And so for me, salinity is one of those. There's something magical happening here. This is art, and there's something magical about some salinity. So that's my sidebar on salinity. But this is a cool climate wine. Wines that are grown in cooler climates tend to be a little bit higher in acidity. The grapes don't ripen quite as much, so they're going to have more of that acid, more of those citrus notes. The Riesling and Gewürztraminer, like I said, happen to be highly aromatic floral grapes, so it's going to have some of those notes as well. And I think this is going to be a really good contrast to what we see here with this Augusta Vin, which comes from Texas, which we all know is a lot warmer of a climate. And this is just a different grape here, this Viognier. So before we crack into this one, let's take a step back. So in the 1960s, people were going to Oregon. They were planting Burgundian varieties like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and then branching out into more cool climate varieties because that's what grows well in Oregon. But remember, we're in this fragmented state. The wine industry in America was basically nothing, and then it was a lot of cheap bulk jug wine. Now they're trying to rediscover what grapes grow well in different places. So in the 60s and 70s, and the wine that is really popular at the time across America and is held up as being some of the best wines are going to be Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay. So they're trying to grow these grapes down in Texas. And so Chardonnay is not doing super hot down there. These grapes need a bit more of what we call a diurnal shift. It gets warm during the day, cool at night. That helps balance some of the acidity in the grapes, and it's just not happening. It's hot all of the time in Texas, and so they're not surviving. So some winemakers got a great idea to start planting varieties from the Rhone region of France. And so the Rhone region is in southern France. It is warmer there than areas like Bordeaux or Burgundy. And so they plant grapes, and some of the big varieties that are from the Rhone region are Syrah and then Viognier. So Viognier is this white grape here, and it actually started doing really well in Texas. And this is one of the flagship grapes that Texas is known for today within winemaking is Viognier. It grows really well in the area, and it produces a nice wine. It doesn't need to be as acidic because it's not supposed to be. So the heat doesn't hurt it in that way. And so let's crack it open and give it a little side-by-side taste. Okay, so this also has some peach notes to it, which is fun to compare because both have those peach notes. It also has some honeysuckle to it, but it's got a bit of an oily texture to it, which is typical in a Viognier. This one has been oak aged as well in French oak. So it's getting vanilla from the oak. So it does have pretty high acidity, but the flavor profile could not be more different between these two wines here. This one being very floral, very citrusy with some peach notes to it and that bright salinity. And then this Viognier being oily, vanilla-y, almost like a peach cobbler type of profile to it, more than the salinity and the citrus notes. And that makes sense. This is from the Texas High Plains in Texas. And so Viognier, like I said, is a grape that grows well in Texas, but they chose to oak age this, which is more common with Viognier than the aromatic varieties because you don't want to mask the florally notes in something like a Gewürztraminer or Riesling by oak aging it. So these two wines here, both 2024, both U.S. wines, both not from California, but they show the different winemaking styles, techniques, and grapes that are grown in two very different states. The US is huge, especially compared to a lot of European countries. So we can get a lot of different winemaking styles and climates and terroirs, even within the US. But remember, there is more to the US wine story than just big oaky buttery Chardonnay. So even as we move into winter here, I know I tend to lean more reds when the weather gets cold, but whites are still so fun, especially something like this Viognier that has just a little hint of that oakiness and oiliness to it. Can be really nice in the fall. If you want to know more about different American wine regions and wines that you may not find at your local store, be sure to hit subscribe, follow me on Instagram at American Wine Rebel, and check out some of these wines. Until next time, cheers!